Some dogs don't need a dramatic rescue. Sometimes all they need is someone patient enough to earn their trust. For the past few weeks, a small stray puppy had been wandering around our neighborhood. Nobody knew exactly where he came from. One day he would be sleeping near a fence. The next day he would be exploring empty lots and muddy paths after the rain. One afternoon, I spotted him again. This time he had wandered into someone else's vegetable garden. The moment I saw him, I knew I had to get him out of there. The puppy wasn't causing trouble on purpose. He was simply curious, exploring everything around him like puppies do. But if the owner returned and found him running through the crops, there would definitely be complaints. I quickly walked toward the garden. As soon as the puppy noticed me, he froze. Then he turned around and ran. "Hey, wait!" I called after him, but he wanted nothing to do with me. At that point, we barely knew each other. I had seen him around several times, but we had never really interacted. To him, I was just another stranger approaching too quickly. The little dog stopped several meters away and stared at me cautiously. That's when I finally got a good look at him. He was filthy. His paws were completely covered in mud. His belly was stained brown from crawling through wet ground, and even his fur looked dirty and tangled. The recent rain had turned the entire area into a muddy playground, and he seemed determined to roll through every puddle he could find. I wanted to help him, but I knew chasing him would only make him more afraid. So I reached into my pocket and pulled out a sausage. Immediately his attention changed. His ears stood up. His eyes locked onto the food. I crouched down and placed it on the ground. "Come on, little guy. This is for you." He looked at me, then at the sausage, then back at me again. For a few seconds, he seemed to be deciding whether the reward was worth the risk. Finally, hunger won. He carefully approached, grabbed the sausage, and immediately ran underneath a nearby vehicle. I couldn't help laughing. Apparently, he trusted the sausage much more than he trusted me. For several minutes, he remained hidden beneath the car, chewing every bite while keeping a close eye on me. I sat nearby and waited. Sometimes animals need time to understand that not every human wants something from them. When he finally finished eating, he slowly stepped out again. This time, he didn't run away. Instead, he stayed close. The sausage had worked. Our friendship had officially begun. I reached out my hand. The puppy sniffed my fingers carefully. Then he gave them a quick lick. That tiny gesture felt like a huge victory. A few moments later, I was able to pet his head. He still looked nervous, but he wasn't trying to escape anymore. In fact, he even started playfully nibbling on my fingers with his tiny teeth. The bites didn't hurt at all. They were actually pretty adorable. "You're not very scary," I told him. Now that he trusted me enough to stay close, I could finally deal with the real problem. He desperately needed a bath. I gently picked him up and carried him home. The poor little guy looked like he had spent the entire week rolling through mud. I prepared a basin of warm water, carefully checking the temperature. Not too hot, not too cold, just comfortable. The moment his paws touched the water, he looked completely confused. Then curious. Then surprisingly relaxed. Most of the mud was concentrated around his paws, legs, and belly, so I focused on those areas first. The water quickly turned brown, then darker, then almost completely muddy. I couldn't believe how much dirt had been hiding in such a small dog. Every time I rinsed him, more mud seemed to appear. The puppy watched me carefully throughout the entire process. Perhaps he was wondering why anyone would spend so much time cleaning a stray dog. Or maybe he was simply enjoying the attention. Either way, he became calmer with every passing minute. Because he was still very young, I avoided soaking his entire coat. The weather was damp, and I didn't want him getting cold or sick. After cleaning the dirtiest parts, I wrapped him in a towel and prepared the next challenge, the hairdryer. The moment he heard the sound, he immediately tried backing away. His eyes widened, his ears folded back, and he gave me a look that clearly said he hated this new machine. I laughed. Most puppies react exactly the same way. Fortunately, after a little reassurance, he allowed me to finish drying him. The transformation was incredible. The muddy stray I had found earlier was gone. Now he looked soft, fluffy, and surprisingly handsome. His fur was clean, his paws looked normal again, even his eyes seemed brighter. Of course, there was one problem. Outside, the ground was still covered in mud. If I let him run free immediately, all our work would disappear within minutes. So I gently placed him inside a clean enclosure. The puppy immediately protested. He wanted to come out and play. He pawed at the gate and looked at me hopefully. I almost gave in. Almost, but I knew exactly what would happen. 5 minutes outside and he'd be filthy again. No, I told him. You stay clean for at least one day. He clearly disagreed. Still, after a few minutes, he settled down. I brought him fresh water and some food, placing both inside the enclosure. As he happily began eating, I sat nearby and watched him. Just a few hours earlier, he had been running away from me, covered in mud and terrified of getting close. Now he was clean, fed, and safe. Trust doesn't happen all at once. It grows slowly, one meal at a time, one kind gesture at a time. And as I watched that little puppy enjoying his dinner, I had a feeling this was only the beginning of our friendship.